Hi, my name is Matthew. I'll be taking you through the ABN validation check in the cleanup section, which is a unique tool built for the Australian market. This check is initially designed to help with completing the TPAR report within your general ledger file, in this case zero, and we're going to check for four key things. With this check, we're actually pulling this data directly from the Australian Business Register so that we can make sure that the record is complete. First thing that we're going to look for is obviously setting the period. So if I wanted to scan through the last financial year, for example, and I wanted to see basically which of my contacts I've used in that period that have an invalid or missing ABN number. So I can expand this out and first off look for my contacts with no ABN number listed in the contact card in zero. In this section, I've then got it broken out by the different tax codes that are used. So for the purpose of today's example, I just want to review all of the contacts that I've coded as GST on expenses. And in here, we've got an editable like table that we can use. So if we're trying to populate the information for TPAR reporting specifically, what I might do is actually come through and grab the account name that was used and put that at the front. And I might look for my subcontractor account code and then sort of expand that and see which contacts I'm using. So obviously I don't have a subcontractor account code here to use, so I'm just going to use subscriptions. The idea here being that I could then see those contacts and then find the ABN number within the ABR. So I could then search for the business name. If I didn't find anything that looked like an exact match, I can look at the different trading names that are listed under there. I can also then re-edit the section at the top here and just research. And so if I find, Apple Pty Ltd, for example, so I might say, this particular Apple Proprietary Limited, this looks like the correct ABN number, or compare that to the invoice. If I wanted to, I can then scroll to the right and push that information into the contact in zero. So that will grab the ABN number along with any available address details so that that record is ready for the TPAR report in zero. What we'll do next, once we've gone through and populated and reviewed all the contacts to make sure everything's in there that we want, we'll actually scan to see if any of the ABN numbers that are in the record in zero are valid. So does it fit the correct criteria and so forth? And if it's no longer valid or active, then we'll flag up those transactions just to let you know, hey, this ABN number doesn't appear to be correct. And so I can then jump in and go and view that in the contact and make that edit. Once we've got the correct ABN numbers in there and everything looks to be complete, the next two checks that we're going to look at are related to the GST treatment. So we've sort of gone beyond populating information for TPAR reporting. We're now just making sure that we claimed the correct amount of GST on those subcontractors, or in fact on any of the contacts that you've got an ABN number for. So what we can do here is check to see if there's GST that's been applied to a contact that's not registered for GST, in which case we can come through, have a look at those transactions. And as you can see here, the GST registered status for this supplier is cancelled. And so if I needed to, I could jump across and go to the transactions in zero and actually edit those within the general ledger. Or if I know that actually the ABN number's been incorrectly entered, they're not trading under this ABN, though it may still be a valid one, I can go through and update the contact. And then also we'll look for GST that's not been included where a contact is registered. So you may get a few false positives on this one. Let's say, for example, you've got Coles or Woolworths where you've got a mix of GST and GST-free. But it's really going to be useful if we come in and see contacts like, say, Bunnings Warehouse, where we know that there's a high likelihood that the item did have GST applied to it. There might have just been a miscoding. So again, we can come through and edit those. So the really useful thing about all of this as well is that because we've got that integration with the ABR or the data coming through from it, what that will enable us to do is monitor and maintain. So if someone's GST registered status changes, we'll let you know by flagging transactions that don't appear to align with what the registered status is at the time the transaction was recorded. So, if I've got someone who was registered for GST last financial year, but are no longer registered this financial year, you'll see them pop up and that change be reflected. So it gives you an opportunity to go in and maybe change the contact rules for them in zero. Perfect. So that's the ABN validation tool. So again, the whole focus here is getting the information from the ADR, populating that into the general ledger. So at this point, we can only push the contact information across to zero. But even if I needed to, I can use that view contact icon. So let's say, for example, I went to like my BAS excluded codes here, and I didn't have the find ABN function. If I wanted to, I could just go and view that contact and copy and paste directly in. But yeah, we're constantly making improvements to this section. So yeah, keep an eye out. But yeah, I hope that's been helpful. And as I said, we really just want to make it easy to get that information in, so the TPAR reporting is a kind of non-event, but also help you track and monitor those ABN and GST registered statuses, so that you can, sort of act a bit more proactively if those changes are detected throughout the course of the year. All right, thanks for joining me. I hope that that's been helpful, and look forward to helping you with other sections within the Dext Precision Academy.